Goku reacts instantly to the tremendous energy spike originating from the distant mountains, placing his index and middle fingers firmly against his forehead. He informs Vegeta that they must intercept the emerging presence immediately before the anomaly destabilizes the entire planet. Vegeta places a heavy hand on his rival's shoulder, his expression grim as he senses the dark, divine nature of the power echoing from the rift. With a sharp nod, Goku activates his instant transmission, vanishing from the Capsule Corporation courtyard in a brief flash of light. Materializing instantly in the smoldering wasteland of Mount Paozu, Goku stumbles slightly as the intense atmospheric pressure of the rift washes over him. He scans the devastated forest, quickly locating Piccolo, who is standing firm near the edge of the glowing temporal tear. Vegeta lands beside them, his eyes narrowing as he observes the thick waves of purple and white energy pulsing outward from the dimensional doorway. Piccolo alerts the newly arrived Saiyans that the entity inside the rift possesses a level of malice that defies comprehension. A few yards away, Cooler drags his battered body through the dirt, his breathing labored from his previous exchange with the massive Namekian warrior. Vegeta glances at the fallen tyrant with disdain, choosing to ignore the weakened alien as his attention shifts entirely to the center of the vortex. Fused Zamasu emerges fully from the glowing white light of the rift, hovering slightly above the ground with an aura of absolute serenity. The divine intruder looks down at the gathered defenders, his presence instantly heavy enough to crack the surrounding bedrock. Fused Zamasu raises his arms wide, declaring to the mortals that their pathetic existence is an affront to the sacred order of the multiverse. Goku shifts into a defensive stance, asking the self-proclaimed god how he managed to escape his erasure and bridge the gap between distinct timelines. Piccolo warns his allies that the standard boundaries of space are completely failing around the intruder, making physical attacks difficult to coordinate. Fused Zamasu simply chuckles at their confusion, asserting that his justice is eternal and unbound by the rules of mortal men. Refusing to accept his complete irrelevance in this cosmic struggle, Cooler gathers the last remnants of his energy into his hand, aiming a desperate death beam at the floating deity. Fused Zamasu does not even turn to look, flicking a single finger to deflect the purple laser beam straight into the deep forest behind him. The resulting explosion vaporizes a massive section of the mountain, creating a secondary crater that rattles the ground. Vegeta watches the display, realizing that the standard power levels of their past foes pale in comparison to this divine threat. Recognizing that his current state leaves him completely vulnerable to the crossfire, Cooler slowly retreats into the dense, burning foliage to escape certain annihilation. Goku notes the tyrant's departure, but keeps his focus locked entirely on the immortal god hovering before them, adjusting his footing as the terrain continues to shift. He states to his companion that they cannot afford any distractions while dealing with an entity of this caliber, urging total concentration. Vegeta steps forward, his Saiyan pride burning fiercely as he refuses to let an arrogant deity dictate the fate of his home world. He channels his godly ki, transforming instantly into Super Saiyan Blue, as a brilliant torrent of azure light erupts around his body. Fused Zamasu smiles mockingly at the transformation, remarking that the adoption of divine power by mere mortals is the ultimate sin against the heavens. Vegeta answers the taunt by launching himself forward, his speed creating a sonic boom that shatters the surrounding glass-like remnants of the soil. Fused Zamasu manifests an energy blade from his right forearm, effortlessly parrying the incoming barrage of punches from the Saiyan Prince. Vegeta increases the intensity of his assault, his fists moving as a blur of blue light as he forces the deity backward toward the rift. Goku focuses his mind and channels his divine energy, transforming instantly into Super Saiyan Blue to provide immediate tactical reinforcement. The combined pressure of the two Saiyans begins to create shockwaves that ripple across the entire northern hemisphere of the planet. Fused Zamasu unleashes a sudden telekinetic burst, forcing both Saiyans to slide backward across the fractured terrain. Piccolo takes advantage of the brief separation, using his immense physical size to circle behind the immortal foe and attempt a crushing bear hug. Fused Zamasu senses the maneuver instantly, shifting his weight to drive an elbow into the muscular torso of the giant Namekian warrior. Goku recovers quickly, firing a series of precise ki blasts to disrupt the deity's counterattack and keep his ally from being overwhelmed. Fused Zamasu floats higher into the air, his halo expanding as he begins to manifest the absolute wrath of his divine techniques. Vegeta flies directly upward to meet him, crossing his arms to form a defensive shield against the falling crimson lightning. The oppressive energy of the attacks begins to scorch the landscape, threatening to ignite the remaining pristine sections of the landscape. Meanwhile, back in the ruined courtyard of Capsule Corporation, Gohan stands perfectly still, his eyes fixed on the distant flashing lights illuminating the mountain sky. Bulma steps out from the edge of the reinforced bunker, holding a modified energy dampener device that her laboratory computers just finished calibrating. Beerus watches the distant conflict with a stern expression, muttering that the mortals are taking far too long to deal with a rogue immortal. Whis taps his staff against the debris-covered ground, projecting a real-time molecular scan of the space-time rift for the group to analyze. He explains to Bulma that the device she holds possesses the correct frequency to temporarily disrupt the portal, provided someone can deliver it to the core of the anomaly. Jocko peers over her shoulder, whimpering as the readings indicate that the temporal tear is continuing to expand toward the outer edges of the solar system. Gohan reaches out to take the specialized capsule device from Bulma, promising that he will deliver it safely to Piccolo before the rift becomes completely irreversible. Beerus warns Gohan that if the device fails to seal the anomaly, he will step in and erase the entire sector to preserve cosmic order. Gohan accepts the warning with a serious nod, his powerful aura flaring with renewed intensity as he prepares for immediate departure, launching himself into the sky with a tremendous sonic boom. Gohan leaves the Capsule Corporation grounds behind as a streak of light. Whis observes his departure, noting to Jocko that the young warrior's evolution has granted him a power level that bridges the gap between mortal capability and divine authority. Jocko quickly rushes toward his personal spaceship, eager to monitor the situation from a safe aerial vantage point rather than remaining vulnerable on the ground. Back at the Mount Paozu crater, Fused Zamasu unleashes a massive sphere of holy wrath, sending the burning projectile hurtling toward the exhausted Saiyans. Vegeta pushes his hands forward to intercept the attack, his boots sliding deeply into the earth as he struggles to halt its descent. Goku moves instantly to his side, channeling his full energy to help push back against the crushing weight of the divine blast. The immense friction between their opposing energies creates a localized vacuum, extinguishing the surrounding forest fires instantly. Piccolo jumps into the air, intending to strike Fused Zamasu from above, while the deity is focused on maintaining his massive energy attack. Before he can connect, the divine intruder releases a localized shockwave that throws the Namekian warrior violently back into the dirt. Just as the situation turns dire, Gohan arrives at the battlefield like a meteor, his light blue and crimson aura parting the clouds as he enters the Mount Paozu plot thread. Gohan drives his fist squarely into the jaw of Fused Zamasu, the sheer physical force of the strike sending the self-proclaimed god crashing through the rocky terrain. The unexpected impact disrupts the deity's control over the Holy Wrath sphere, causing the massive attack to dissipate into harmless ambient energy. Gohan lands gracefully beside Piccolo, handing him the specialized capsule device and explaining its purpose in stabilizing the nearby portal. Piccolo nods firmly, immediately moving toward the edge of the pulsating space-time rift to prepare the energy dampener for activation. Gohan turns his attention back to the crater, his crimson eyes tracking the divine intruder as the enemy begins to rise from the rubble. Fused Zamasu clutches his face, his expression twisting into absolute rage as he realizes a mortal has managed to draw blood from his perfect form. Fused Zamasu screams in fury, his dark ki expanding exponentially as the damage to his body begins to trigger an unstable physical mutation. His right side swells violently, transforming him into the purple gelatinous mass of his corrupted half alters his silhouette. Gohan maintains a cold, detached composure, shifting into his fighting stance as the monstrous deity floats back into the air. Fused Zamasu lunges forward with animalistic ferocity, his mutated arm sweeping across the battlefield to crush his opponents. Goku and Vegeta flash forward simultaneously, using their combined speed to deflect the heavy, distorted strikes of the corrupted god. The sheer mass of the enemy's new form makes his attacks slower but infinitely more destructive, shattering the bedrock with every missed swing. Vegeta realizes that their current power level is insufficient to completely suppress the mutated threat before the portal expands further. He focuses his inner malice and the lessons of his destroyer training, transforming instantly into true Ultra Ego as a thick purple aura envelopes his frame. Fused Zamasu roars in defiance, his single normal eye widening as he senses the sudden influx of genuine Hakai energy on the battlefield. Vegeta leaps directly into the path of an incoming strike, deliberately taking the blow to fuel his battle power through the core mechanics of his form. He laughs through the pain, delivering a devastating counterpunch that vaporizes a portion of the corrupted flesh on the enemy's shoulder. Gohan exploits the opening instantly, appearing above Fused Zamasu to launch a relentless barrage of heavy physical strikes that pin the deity to the ground. Near the edge of the vortex, Piccolo activates the capsule device, causing a grid of blue energy lines to project across the face of the space-time rift. Fused Zamasu senses the stabilizing effect on his anchor and thrashes violently, attempting to fire a wave of energy spikes to destroy the mechanism. Goku positions himself between the deity and the device, using his forearms to intercept the lethal projectiles and keep the stabilization process uninterrupted. Goku recognizes that they need to completely neutralize the enemy's physical presence to allow the dampener to finish sealing the rift. He closes his eyes for a brief instant, drawing upon the absolute serenity of divine martial arts to break through his current limits. Goku transforms instantly into Ultra Instinct, his aura shifting into a brilliant silver fire that illuminates the entire mountain range. Fused Zamasu stumbles back in horror, recognizing the absolute state of godhood that he has consistently failed to achieve. Moving with complete autonomy, Goku vanishes from sight, reappearing in a fraction of a second to deliver a crushing palm strike to the chest of Fused Zamasu. The shockwave of the attack ripples through the deity's body, temporarily paralyzing his mutated nervous system. Vegeta seizes the moment of vulnerability, gathering a massive sphere of purple destruction energy in his right hand as he hovers directly above the target. Vegeta hurls the Hakai sphere downward, intending to erase the corrupted god's physical form from the timeline once and for all. Fused Zamasu raises his mutated arm at the last possible second, his immortal essence fighting desperately against the absolute erasure of the destruction energy. Gohan flies into the fray alongside the sphere, adding his own massive kinetic pressure to force the attack deep into the enemy's defenses. Piccolo monitors the capsule device as the blue grid successfully locks onto the boundaries of the temporal portal, beginning to shrink the tier line by line. Fused Zamasu notices the closing doorway and releases a desperate, agonizing scream, his energy flaring in a final attempt to override the stabilization. The intense spiritual pressure causes the surrounding air to shimmer, cracking the ground beneath the Namekian warrior's heavy feet. Goku manifests a giant silver energy avatar around his body, using the massive glowing construct to pin the thrashing arms of Fused Zamasu securely against the ground. This absolute restraint leaves the corrupted deity completely exposed to the final offensive maneuvers of the other Saiyan defenders. Gohan places 2 fingers directly to his forehead, gathering a massive concentration of crimson and blue lightning to prepare a definitive finishing blow. Gohan releases a fully charged special beam cannon, the spiraling torrent of energy piercing straight through the core of Fused Zamasu. Vegeta immediately follows the attack by unleashing a massive explosion of his remaining Hakai energy, engulfing the wounded god completely within a pillar of purple fire. The dual assault shatters the last remnants of the immortal's physical cohesion, forcing his corrupted essence to dissolve into glowing particles of light. Piccolo watches as the capsule device emits a final, high-frequency chime, signaling that the space-time rift has been completely and permanently sealed. The glowing white portal vanishes from the sky, restoring the natural atmospheric pressure and atmospheric stability to the Mount Paozu forest. Goku disperses his massive silver energy avatar, landing softly on the scorched earth as his breathing begins to return to a steady, rhythmic pace. Vegeta powers down into his base form as his purple aura fades, his body showing the heavy bruising and superficial lacerations accumulated during the fierce confrontation. Gohan likewise allows his immense energy to recede, reverting back into his base form while checking the integrity of the surrounding landscape. Goku relaxes his posture and powers down into his base form as his silver aura dissipates completely, joining his companions on the ground. Piccolo reverts to his base form as his giant frame shrinks back to its standard dimensions, his breathing heavy from the prolonged physical exertion. He hands the expended capsule device back to Gohan, noting that Bulma's scientific expertise was the true deciding factor in securing the timeline. Vegeta crosses his arms, muttering that while the immediate threat has been neutralized, the source of these dimensional fractures remains completely unknown. Back at the Capsule Corporation facility, Bulma monitors her primary mainframe screens, confirming that the localized gravitational anomalies have completely resolved across the globe. Jocko safely lands his patrol spaceship in the courtyard, letting out a loud sigh of relief as his terminal indicates that the galactic tracking networks have returned to normal parameters. Beerus stands up from his lounger, his tail flicking slightly as he acknowledges that the mortals managed to clean up the mess without requiring his direct intervention. Whis taps his staff to clear the remaining floating projections, smiling warmly as he suggests to Beerus that they should celebrate the victory with a proper earthly feast. Before the deity can answer, Goku materializes in the center of the courtyard via instant transmission, bringing Vegeta and the rest of the mountain defenders back to West City. Goku laughs heartily, rubbing the back of his head while requesting that Bulma prepare a massive amount of food to restore their depleted stamina. Vegeta lands firmly beside him, silent but visibly relaxed, As the immediate danger to his family and his planet passes completely into history, Bulma smiles warmly at the exhausted warriors, promising that the kitchen staff is already preparing a banquet worthy of the world's protectors. Standing near the edge of the courtyard, Gohan shares a quiet nod of mutual respect with Piccolo, both recognizing that their bond remains the ultimate shield of the planet. Whis guides the group toward the main dining hall, his staff glowing faintly as the peaceful afternoon sun begins to settle over the restored city. With the multidimensional crisis successfully averted and the timeline firmly secured, the protectors of Universe 7 move forward into a hard-earned period of cosmic tranquility.